Hey guys, so are financial worries dragging you down? Does it seem like there's no hope in sight when it comes to your financial challenges? Well, we have someone on the show, Amy. She probably felt that same exact way when she started, but today she has made some major strides, turning her finances around, saving and paying off over $52,000 since joining us in Roots of Personal Finance. So I want you to join us on this episode as Amy shares her empowering story, offering hopefully you some inspiration and motivation to help you get started on your own journey out of debt, no matter how tough it might seem where you're at right now. Stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome to today's show. I am Brad Nelson, founder of The Debt Free Dad. I paid off about $45,000 of debt, have been debt free now for more than 11 years outside of my mortgage. I've also been fortunate and grateful to be able to help thousands of other people save and pay off tens of millions of dollars with the work that we do here at Debt Free Dad. Now, after listening to this amazing episode, if you want to take your finances to the next level, if you would like to even start seeing great results in as little as 30 to 60 days, I'll be sharing some details about how you can get started with that later on in today's show. So as I mentioned, we've got an amazing guest, Amy, joining us here on the Debt Free Dad podcast. Amy, welcome to the podcast today. You mentioned you probably have listened to almost every single episode of this podcast.
I really have.
Yes. Which is so cool. So cool. And I told Amy, it's like, well, you're going to be an old pro at this. I'm excited that you're going to be here sharing this. So Amy, as we get started, can you just share, how, you manage your finances prior to obviously having all this great success and almost this comeback story? I know you mentioned, some of the information you sent over, you still have some ways to go, but you're obviously in a much better place now. But can you share what was challenging you most when you got started with, managing money in your adult life and some of the mistakes you made?
I really didn't know what to do. I mean, growing up, I wasn't really taught, much about money. I remember struggling as a child. We had to count change a couple of times to make sure that we could buy a gallon of milk with my mom. She had to work 2 jobs, even though she was married at the time, to a musician. So it was a struggle for us. And I didn't see her that often. And then my dad, he lived in Alaska and I didn't see him much. Well, I saw him during the summer. I take that back. And I love my parents dearly. It's really weird. They got divorced when I was like 4, and then they got remarried in 2015. So it was just a little weird for me. But I'm glad they're back together.
Yeah.
But I grew up as a divorced kid. So I had 2 households that I was going through, and neither one really taught me how to manage money. Plus, I live in Reno, Nevada. So we have this wonderful industry known as gambling. So yeah. So that has been an issue too for people in my life. So
yeah. So when you became an adult, like what did that, and again, I mean, well, this is not uncommon. We hear this stuff all the time. Me too. I was raised and not really, I was shared some information about money and personal finance, a little bit of education, but not enough to really be successful in my opinion. And a lot of people that we have on the show, a lot of people that have struggled, they say the same thing. I was never really taught on, how to budget or how to save or really how to have a good financial mindset. And that led to some really, big challenges when I became an adult and started managing money. So can you share, as you became an adult and as you started working through money, like what were some of the things that you struggled with the most, you think?
Credit cards. Credit cards were definitely one. I did not understand. I mean, I knew, okay, you use your credit card and then you eventually have to pay them off. But, just getting into debt in general. I'm also a teacher, so it took me a while to get through college. I've been married. I'm on my 3rd marriage. Well, so was my husband. So we actually said on our wedding invites, 3rd time's a charm. So
hey, no judgment.
My joke I tell on stage is actually, I said, so I just recently upped his life insurance. So we're good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I'm also a comedian, for reals. I've been performing for 9, but moving on about the adult stuff, after my first divorce, I was actually on welfare. So I actually had a housing voucher. I had food stamps. I had Medicaid for me and my 2 daughters at the time, because I only had 2 kids at that time. I was a single mom. And so it was a constant struggle to, put food on the table. But I used that system for exactly what it was intended. It helped me get through college and it helped me, get on my own 2 feet. And now I give back. Now I help others and I'm a teacher. I've been teaching now that I'm going into my 19th year. I teach history. Social
Yeah.
studies. Even this summer, I just did a summer school program where I was teaching adulting 101. So, and I was kind of projecting some of the stuff that you teach us, Brad, about budgeting, have a zero-based budget, doing all those things. And it really, the kids really were taking to it. And even
Yeah.
like finding your first apartment, what is that going to look like now in today's economy? What do you have to do? How much do you have to make? You know,
Yeah.
so they had a good time with that one.
Yeah, important things obviously is young kids, grow up in a completely different world than we all grew up in. Things that you really gotta think about. So, obviously, you said you've listened to the Debt Free Dad podcast. I mean, you've been in Roots for some time, and what made you join? Because we say this quite often. Joining Roots or like a financial support and accountability group. It's kind of a weird thing. You don't wake up one day and be like, I'm going to go out and invest in this for my life, right? But what made you, I guess, jump in? What was the triggering factor or maybe the deciding factor for you of saying, like, I need to do this for my life?
Well, even before I learned about your program, I had read a certain book by a certain gentleman whose initials are DR. I will not mention
What?
him on the show. But he had this program, and I'm sorry, but rice and beans just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
So, and it was very strict. And my second ex-husband and I, we were actually starting to follow that, and it just got to be too strict. It was like going on this diet, and you could only do this, this, and this, and if you don't, then you get yelled at and you're a failure. And I'm like, I can't live my life like that. So after my
Yeah.
second divorce, I started selling some certain products with a friend of mine. And so then I got the invite from your program, and I went, oh, I'm a single mom now again with 4 kids this time. And I'm like, I really need to get my debt in order. I had a lot of credit card debt. I had a lot of stuff going on, and I just really wanted to actually learn and develop the system. So I joined Roots in October of 2018. And then a month later, my life went really bad.
Yeah.
Sorry. Uh,
No, take your time. Totally reasonable and understandable.
no, my 19-year-old daughter in 2018, November 19, 2018, died in a car accident.
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
So it was hard, really, really hard. One of the things, and I really need to emphasize this with your listeners, and I hope and I pray that they never have to use it, but always sign up for the life insurance for your children. It
Yeah.
costs next to nothing. It's like minimal cents. It like $1 or something. And thankfully I did have that on my daughter when she passed, and it allowed me to take a little bit more additional time and to have some of those finances so I wasn't stressing as much
Yeah.
um, to deal with her passing. So,
Yeah.
and I know you understand loss and everything else. And
100%. Yep. I
yeah,
couldn't agree more. And I think I'm glad you brought it up because I think it's something that most people ignore, don't think it's going to happen to them until it does. And you mentioned the most important thing in this whole thing. And like you said, I'm different stories, different, you know, but same thing. You need time after something like that happens. And I think this is one of the things that we talk about a lot on this podcast is, it's not just getting your finances in order to live a happier life, but it's also getting your finances in order when life doesn't go right, because it's not, things are going to go wrong, bad things are going to happen. And you need to give yourself an opportunity to take a step back from those events and allow yourself to heal and be able to find some sort of sense of moving forward. And,
exactly.
I'm glad you brought that up and shared that.
Yeah, because I couldn't go back to performing. I've been doing comedy at that. I was helping to manage one of the local comedy clubs here in town.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be funny at that time. I just couldn't go back to that job. And so having that life insurance for her really helped me. I could go back to teaching because my kids, I love my students. They're like my other kids in my life. They're amazing. My kids are
Yeah.
amazing. And they were very supportive and helpful when I came back. So, but even before my daughter passed, even before I signed up for your program, I was working, teaching full time. And then I had like 2 or 3 other part-time jobs. Like I was doing Pure Romance. I was doing DoorDash. I was doing Instacart. I was working at a painting place. I was helping to manage the comedy club on the weekends. So I was always working, except for, I was trying to make sure I had time to see my youngest because she was the only one living with me at the time.
But you have this tragedy happen in your life, and obviously you probably took some time off working on your finances and being super aggressive. And when did you find yourself, getting back into it? And can you share, because I mean, you guys have made some tremendous progress here now. You've been through a lot of ups and downs throughout the last 5 years or so. What do you feel like when you did get back into it and you started working on some of this? What do you feel has been some of the most helpful things that have helped you kind of get back on track and be able to really start making some headway with, whether it be saving and getting out of debt?
I think motivation for me was my why of I'm going to be 50 soon. I'm 47 right now. And I'm like, I do not want to have this much debt by the time I'm 50.
Yeah.
And we currently live in a two-story house. My husband being disabled, he has a hard time climbing the stairs. It's getting harder and harder every single time. So, he's in pain 24/7. So, we have to buy a single story house. And so right now, unfortunately, we have to fix our credit scores because for a long time I didn't give a crap because we were just trying to get out of debt.
Yeah.
We even had a couple of months where we couldn't pay a couple of credit cards because it was like, okay, we had a medical emergency, we have to eat, so our debts just have to wait. And it rolled and rolled, and then it became like a 90 days late. And then as soon as we could, now we're all fine. But that's limiting us on getting our new house, a single story house that we desperately need, so that way he can be more mobile and not have to be in so much pain from climbing the stairs. So our motivation right now is we just want to knock this out. We
Yeah.
just want to every month we're like, okay, what one are we paying off now? What one are we going to do? And right now I'm really focusing on his credit report. So that way I can pay off his credit cards and not get them back. So that way his score goes up the fastest so we can get that VA loan.
Yeah.
And that's my
Yeah.
goal right now. So
Yeah. So, how much, so as you're going through roots and obviously you're learning about budgeting, you're learning about habits, you're learning about behavior, like, can you pinpoint, because obviously people are listening to this and they're saying, wow, I mean, here's Amy. I mean, she's gone through some tough stuff and still has made some tremendous progress and saving and paying off over $50,000. I mean, that's incredible. So can you share from, like, were there any technical things, budgeting, habits that you guys changed, maybe expenses that you reduced, like anything that you guys went through as a family to really start making some headway here?
it's doing that Roots 15 every day. Like, I
Yeah.
even when I get to school, I'm like, I'm on my computer really fast, just plugging in, making sure because I do a spreadsheet for balancing my checkbook. I created one for my bills so I can just go through that month and say, okay, these are the ones coming up, and I have it all on there. I even created I titled it "FU Def." And I said I wasn't going to drop an F bomb, but I just abbreviated it. But I called it FU debt, and I listed all of our debts and what our current scores are. And that's when I was looking at it and I was like, holy crap, we've paid off over $50,000 now. Wow, because we have a total of like around $188,000 debt, and that doesn't count our mortgage.
Yeah.
That's just everything. And I'm like, I want to be done.
Yeah. So when you totaled that up, could you believe that?
No,
Yeah. It's pretty
no, I
crazy,
couldn't.
right?
And I mean, we've had so many hardships. I mean, there was a time period with my husband's stuff where he was mentally going through some really hard times. So guess what we did? I charged him things. I'm like, you need that PlayStation 5. You need a new TV. And so
Yeah.
I know that I got deeper into debt to help him. I even took him to like Universal Studios. And yes, I'm still paying that off. We did the VIP experience. I'm telling you though, if you could pay cash for the VIP experience, do it. Okay. Because it will change your mind on Universal Studios and you will not really have to wait in line again. But it was an incredible thing. But next time I'll be doing it with cash.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So yeah, so you've had some ups and downs, still learning along the way. We talk about that very often here on the show. It's not, just because, you're on this journey doesn't mean that you're not going to have hiccups along the way, or you're not going to have some backtracking along the way. It happens. Even happens when you get out of debt. It's something that you have to, consistently stay focused on. Can you share, like, from a feeling standpoint, from like an emotion standpoint? A lot of people talk about, in fact, one of the number one stressors in the United States right now is money and personal finance problems. You came into this facing, a good amount, of debt and challenges. Now you paid off over $50,000. Can you talk about how you feel now versus how you felt back then? Has any feelings changed, stress reduced?
oh, stress was reduced a ton. I was working because my husband can only work the one job. So being a teacher, I was working previously in charter schools, so it paid me a lot less. Like I'm making $20,000 less, or I was. 2 years ago at a previous charter school than I am compared to working in a different district where I live. So it's like I got a $20,000 raise in 2 years. So that
Yeah.
helped. But even before that, I was working two other part-time jobs just to make a living. Like I was being an art assistant for my friend and her business. I host trivia a couple of nights a week, and I was doing DoorDash so that way we can, have Christmas presents. So I was constantly working and my stress level was through the roof
Yeah.
because I was constantly on the go. And then I'm also my husband's caregiver. So, when he's having a bad day, I have to do a little bit more and I have to help and I have a lot of stuff on my shoulders. So it was a lot. And then my health declined, so I'm just trying to get all this in order. And now that we've paid off this much debt, I don't have as many credit cards anymore. It's just this huge relief is coming off my shoulders.
Yeah.
So it's having my time back is incredible and
Yeah.
being able to spend it with my husband and family because as you and I both know, none of us are guaranteed tomorrow. So
That's right.
creating those memories and having that time is precious.
Yeah. You
And
are absolutely
that's what
right.
I want. I want more of that. I
Yeah.
want to be able to take those trips and pay cash and go again, just him and I, and do that VIP experience one more time, even in Orlando or something instead of just LA. But create those moments because it's not about the stuff for me anymore. It's about creating those memories
Yeah.
because in the long run, it's pretty much all you're going to have left someday.
Yeah. It's so true. Sadly, we both understand that, but also we understand it, which is good because we can spend the rest of our life focusing on the most important things. And that's so true when it comes to your finances. There is this mindset of you only live once, spend, go into debt. It doesn't matter. You can't take it with you. But you have to live with a lot of financial stress when you're living that kind of life. You can also go the other way and do a lot more with cash and be able to still live a pretty fantastic life. So I love that you share that because it is so true. You said I think one of the best things we hear here is I have my time back. And because this is the one thing you can't replace that you replace everything else. You cannot replace your time though.
Yeah.
And this is so true. So can you share from a Roots perspective, you joined the Roots, you're in the Roots community. Obviously, you've been a part of the program for a while now. Can you share what's been the most helpful for you joining that? You mentioned motivation, but what's been the most helpful tips or things that have helped you just being a part of that group?
It's just the group itself. I mean, when you are in there and you're actively participating, it's an amazing support system. Just the feedback and the encouragement. I mean, how many people are going to go, yay, we paid off our credit card? I mean, everybody around you is going to be like, you're crazy. What are you doing? What's debt?
Right.
Everybody has debt. We all
Yeah.
have credit cards. That's what they're for, and it's just that support that we're getting because that's the only place I can go and people are going to be like, woohoo, I didn't spend $50 going to Starbucks today. Okay, $50 is an exaggeration, but you get my point,
Yeah, but I want to say Starbucks though. I took a few kids to Starbucks the other day. It's $30 for liquid drinks. It's like, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it doesn't. Anyways, I didn't mean to interrupt you. It just made me think about that. I was just like, are you kidding me? $30 for drinks? Come on.
And I have actually been, because I'm not going to lie, we have a grocery store that has our Starbucks, and it doesn't come into my budget as Starbucks. It comes into my budget as the grocery store.
Yeah,
So
there you go. That's all
yeah.
right. You get a
So
little reward for that. That's okay.
sure. No, but I have been limiting. I have because I usually would sometimes if I'm late or running late because I have a long commute. Like my commute in the morning is like 45 minutes one way. On the way home, it's usually an hour. Hence, when I would listen to some of your podcasts or books, which I would use Libby because that app is free
Yeah,
instead of using Audible, which I was paying for before. I was like, no, I need to save my money. I'm going to go
right.
the free books. So I would stop and get my Starbucks in the morning. But because I'm really focused, I'm like, no, I'm just going to make my coffee and my husband works graveyard now. So he always has my coffee on for me on the days that he's here because he's still awake at night. So he now has the coffee on for me. I leave for work, give him a kiss. He goes to sleep and then I come home, say hi to him really fast. And then he heads to work. So our schedules are a little off right now, but we're both making more money and we have more time when we are actually together. So
Right.
it's nice.
And you guys as a combined you guys got a pretty big family combined now, right?
We have the Brady Bunch. We have 6 kids. So
Yeah.
it's crazy. And then I also have a granddaughter and then I have a grandson on the way in November. So super excited about that. So yeah, my husband has 2 boys and 1 girl, and I have 2 girls and 1 boy remaining. And so, yeah, Christmas and birthdays are a ton of fun when you have 6 kids.
Oh my gosh.
And right now we only have 1 living with us part-time, but it's still a lot.
Still a lot. Yep, you're absolutely right. So if there were some things, Amy, that you could share with someone who's on the outside right now, they're stressed about their finances, they're just having a hard time trying to figure it out. Like, what would be some things that you would share with them to help them, maybe get started? I mean, you mentioned as a teacher, you're starting to share some of this information with your students and the importance of some of the things that you've learned. I guess what would be the big things that you would tell someone to focus on, in your opinion?
Um, just start looking at what you're spending. I mean, look and see where your finances are going, because all the time we hear, I can't afford that. I can't afford this. But yet you go get your nails done, or you go get your hair done, or you go and buy your cigarettes every day, or you're going to Starbucks every day, and you're doing all these different things, but those things add up every
Yeah.
single month. And so whether or not you're putting it on a credit card, or you're actually just paying for it, out of your debit card, people are also not paying attention because everything is also online. They go, oh, I can just check my balance. And then they forget, oh, yeah, this bill's coming out, or this bill's coming out. And then they go into the negative, which then gives them those bank fees,
Yeah.
and then you just get a ton. As Katie said in that one episode, she had like $500 some dollars in bank fees one month. And it was like, you have to pay attention to where it's going. And what I like to tell my students, you need to budget every month, so that way you tell your money where it's going to go, because otherwise your money is going to tell you where it's going. So I'm not going to use the B word, but I always say you need to make money your B, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
I don't swear in class, or at least I try not to.
Yeah. Well, Amy, I just want to thank you once again for coming on the show and just really sharing, some of the things that you've had. You've had some serious ups and downs, and you're proof. I mean, we live in a society right now, especially with inflation, the way expenses are, where everyone's pointing the finger at everybody else, and not many people are willing to take accountability for what they can control. And what I love about your story is that you did it. You obviously you had to take some time off when you had a loss in your family. It's totally understandable, but you still said, what are the things that we can control? You guys have went after it. And I mean, you guys have had such a awesome comeback. I know you said you have some ways to go yet and where you really want to be, but man, you're well on your way. So I'm proud of you guys.
Thank you. Yeah. I learned from Tony Robbins. I've actually attended 3 Tony Robbins events, personal growth, that kind of stuff. And that's what he says. He says the only thing you can control in life is how you respond to a situation. That's it. And
That's right.
and that's exactly what you said. More people need to take into account their own actions and what's actually happening to what they're spending and what they're doing than blaming everybody else right now, because
That's right.
especially right now.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, Amy. I appreciate it. I know your story is going to motivate other people out there to get started. All right. So there you have it, guys. If you want to pay off more debt, save more money, and take better control of your finances, just like you heard Amy did, and you want to start getting some better results and start seeing those results in as little as 30 to 60 days, head over to debtfreedad.com, click on the green button at the top of the page, and I'm going to show you how you can get started on your very own journey today. Hey, and as always, congratulations to all of you guys who are taking a stand for your financial life. Hey, we get, that getting out of debt isn't easy, but hopefully with our help and with your consistency and discipline and hard work, we promise you guys this will be the best work that you guys do in your entire life. Thanks for being with us on today's show, and we will see you guys on next week's episode. Take care.